Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the Gazette's weekly Hockey Inside Out show. I'm Stu Cowan of the Gazette, and I'm joined by my regular partners here, former Canadiens teammates and 1986 Stanley Cup champions, Rick Green and Chris Nilan. Rick, the Canadiens blew a 2-0 lead Tuesday in Washington, losing 3-2 in overtime to the Capitals. The Capitals are now 9-1-1 in their last 11 games against the Canadiens. Why does your old team give the Habs so many problems?
Yeah, look at. I thought the way they came out that they were going to, really blow them out early, and Thompson made some good saves. But the bottom line here in this picture is the Caps. They're big and they're gritty and they play hard and they play physical. And I don't know if it was a little bit of a fatigue factor on the Canadian side, but come third period, they had a hard time keeping up, and Washington just kept coming at them and finding a way to pull off the goals and ultimately the win in overtime. But yeah, they're a good hard team and they play a gritty game, and Montreal didn't maybe respond the way they hoped to respond, in the third period.
Knuckles, you think the back-to-back factors into it, or is that just an excuse?
Yeah, I don't buy that shit. I just don't. Suck it up. Everybody goes through it. Go play. And these guys are in great physical shape. Come on. We hear about they got personal trainers. They eat well. They get all the best flights. They get the best hotels. I mean, come on. Let's go. That's an excuse. So, but again, I look at this team and they make great strides. There's no question about it. But you look at their goals against, and that has to come down if they want to be a competitive team. Now, they did come on. They played well. Wash came back. They've struggled against big teams. LA, early in the year, they smothered them. Couldn't do anything, right? And the Habs, again, it's part of that learning curve. When you learn how to win those 2-1 games, you're able to, when there's 8 minutes left in the game and it's 2-1 in the third period, you're able to shut that other team down. You're not backing your heels all the time, but you're shutting them down. You're not giving them those glaring opportunities. You're playing the game smart. You're not just sitting back. We're going to, kitty bar the door, but we're going to continue playing. We're going to be aggressive, but we're going to pay attention, especially in our end. We ain't going to take any chances, like big risks that can cost you in a hockey game. And you can't miss assignments like happened in overtime. So it's part of the learning curve for them. They've certainly gotten better in a lot of those areas, especially the defensive end of things. But it's those goals against got to continue to come down. But they played a pretty decent game when you consider the circumstances.
You talk about the goals against there, Knuckles, and Rick, the three goalie system continues. Samuel Montembeault got the start in Washington. The Canadiens had him fly in the day before, so he was rested and ready. How much longer can they continue with this three goalie system?
There's no sense of urgency with them right now, but I think moving forward, there's going to be some toes that are going to be stepped on with the three goalie rotation, and they don't like it. I don't know if the team really likes to have that situation. So I'm sure that there's conversations on how we can maybe do what's right for our group and get the best performance. But right now they're fortunate from the standpoint they're getting good performances from all of them. And now it's a matter of how do they, how do they give certain times and games to these individuals that can do the job for them.
Well, I know this is the second time in like 3 years they've gone through this. They had it when they had Jake Allen and Montembeault and Caden Primo, and we saw for Caden Primo, it didn't help any of them. It certainly didn't help Caden Primo's development. After Dobers played his last game, my colleague Herb Zurkowski asked him a fair question, saying, "Do you think you're better playing more games in Laval or staying here?" And Dobish, you could tell he was frustrated, Knuckles, the way he answered it, saying like he's playing with a shaky floor under him. He never knows when it's going to fall out. Do you think he's the odd man out when they do decide to send somebody to Laval or go down to two goalies?
He might be the easiest guy to send there, right? Well, I don't know if he would be the one that deserves to be sent there. But again, you know, you talk about the three previous goalies, but this team, and again, it's easy to point at the goalies, but boy, when you give up the opportunities they've given up in the past 3-4 years, right, through this rebuild, that's tough on a goalie. Listen, I think even if Carey Price was healthy, I don't know if he'd want to be here for that, right? After all he'd been through in his career, and now he's going to go through a rebuild with a bunch of kids who don't know how to play in their own end. So, and again, it's
He would appreciate them
harsh.
scoring so many goals, though.
Yeah, but but it sounds harsh. But that was
Yeah.
earlier in the
Mhm.
rebuild, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, they've struggled. They struggled to begin the season here with that, right? When they went that little funk, they were giving up a lot of goals. They were missing assignments, and that's one area. And listen, there's always going to be mistakes in a game, but when you're consistently have that under control and the mistakes are a little bit more rare, it's easier on the goaltenders. It is like, and yeah, the goaltending hasn't been the best overall, but I think coupled with this team starting to mature that way, I think we'll see an improvement. But the three goalie system, the dam's got to break at some point. Who
Yeah.
knows?
When Ken Hughes met with us in the midseason news conference, he said, there was 5 games coming up in 7 days. That stretch just ended. So you wonder if maybe now they decide. I agree. I think Dobich is probably the guy that goes down. I think Samuel Montembeault playing as well as he has makes that easier. 1 more year left on Samuel Montembeault's contract. Jacob Fowler looking like he might be ready to be the next one. Sort of the bricks are falling into place moving forward with the goaltending situation. But I mean, the 3 goalie system isn't good for anyone. We're talking about goal scoring though, Rick. Alexandrer Texier, since coming to the Canadiens, he has 7 goals and 9 assists in 25 games. Been playing on the number 1 line with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield. Could he be a long-term answer for that spot, even moving on beyond this season?
Well, look at he's earned his opportunity to play with these guys, and he's getting the results. And I remember when he first came, we were like, "Oh, well, it's tough to say what he's going to bring," and he's earned the time. He's been able to have an impact with that group, and I got to give him credit because I didn't know him from anybody, and he's jumped in there, and he seems to be intense. He seems to be playing with some grit, and giving opportunity for his teammates to produce. And look at he's doing the job, and it's going to be a difficult situation once all the bodies come back healthy. How do they use those numbers and where they move certain personnel around to make each line work? And that's not a bad problem to have.
He has a lot of skill, Knuckles, obviously, with those guys. Do you think they need more size, though, as the third member of that line?
Well, I think down the road, when you're talking about playing playoff hockey, good possibility. I mean, what was one of the knocks on him? Does anybody know what one of the knocks was? Maybe he was a little soft. Again, when you get labeled that way, I look at his stats. His best year was in Columbus, 23-24. He had 12 goals, 18 assists, 78 games. He's played unbelievable since he's been here under this coach. This coach, being an offensive player, kind of understanding that part of the game has really helped this kid flourish, and certainly put him with Suzuki and Caulfield. But I don't know long term. We'll see. It's all going to depend on how he plays. If he goes into a funk there, I don't think this coach will sit around and wait too long for that to kind of turn around. I think go 5, 6 games, 7 games without having any input, there might be an issue there, and he might change things up. But the kids, honestly, I'm shocked the way he's played.
Rick, the guy they moved off that line, Yuri Slafkovsky, flourishing with his new line mates, excuse me, Ivan Demonov and Oliver Kapanen. I think it's safe to say now that the Canadiens nailed it when they took Slafkovsky with the number 1 overall pick. There was a lot of questions about it ahead of this season.
What a great progression for this kid that, starting off, everybody was like, oh, do we send him down? How do we handle him? What's the best way to develop him? And they obviously had the right medicine because they have allowed him to become a really, really good player. very quickly, and his confidence level and just what he does on the ice. He has a big presence there, skating well, shooting the puck well, doing all parts of the game that he struggled with before. He's doing it 100% of the time, and it's nice to see a kid like that that's been able to adapt and understand how he needs to play, and he's doing it, and he's fun to watch, and the opposition knows when he's on the ice now.
Because have you been surprised what he's been able to do this season?
No, not so much. That progression, we forget. What was he, 18 years old when he came here, right? Coming from, a league where they play in the big hockey rink, okay, where maybe not as physical, obviously, as playing in the smaller rink over here. And listen, he might have had a man's body, but he's still a young boy. He was a young kid. He's a boy. And he's trying to learn his way. We saw him get hit a few times early there, the first year, second year. He was and he started to understand how to play here. Certainly help from the coaching staff, help from his teammates. This kid's turned into just, what they drafted him for. Like, they could see that, they saw this kid's going to be a good player over here. He had to adjust, right? Over there in that big rink. He's scoring goals over in that big rink, right? So he could skate. He could get there. He proved that. And then he got over here. Well, can you play in traffic now? And it took him time. It took him time to develop, and he's there. And for me, the biggest thing is when he was put in that line, there was no bitching and moaning. He went down there, and he made something of it. And now, let's face it, he got a great sentiment, a lot of hockey sense there. And the other kid's just like, we're off to see the wizard. He's like the wonderful Wizard of Oz. The kid's incredible. And they have a great, chemistry together, the three of them. Three European kids, right? And they have that chemistry together. And it is awesome to watch. I was watching them the other night sitting behind the bench and watching them come off the ice. And there'd be a timeout, and they were talking. And they just, man, it brought back a lot of memories when me and Greeny used to talk about, like, where we're going to go after the game.
Yeah, they're enjoying the playing together. There's no doubt about that. Rick, another big body guy, Arber Xhekaj. I know you've been a big supporter of him. So have you, Knuckles. Moved over to the right side with Caden Gooley coming back. He had a long stretch of really good games there. He didn't look too good against Vancouver, had a rough night, ended up -3. Back in lineup against Washington, you wonder if they might have sat him out. Marty might have sat him out if Caden Gooley wasn't out of the lineup. Just what have you thought about Arber playing on that right side and the fact that he stayed in the lineup after having a tough game against Vancouver?
Yeah, it happens. You do have those games where things are not going as well as you'd hope, but the kid has to play. For him to play on the right side, to me, it's not a big deal. Let him play every situation that he can. Give him the opportunity to fine tune his game. He has all the ingredients to make the opposition fearful when he's playing. And if he continues to make the simple plays, which he's shown in the past, he doesn't get himself in trouble. He's a big plus to be in the lineup, and hopefully they're not going to be scrutinizing him on one game or a couple plays, because it does happen. He's aware of it. He'll try and improve in that area, and he's the type of character that will find a way to get his A game back, and you got to have him in the lineup.
Well, I asked him what he said after that Vancouver game, Knuckles. He always says he coaches trends. He doesn't coach one-offs. And I said, do you look at that game with Arber as a one-off? And he said, I hope so. He said, I think that's what it is. Do you think that's what it is? And what have you liked about Arber the last few games?
Yeah, he played well. He struggled certainly against Vancouver. I was there. I seen it. I'd seen the coach wincing sometimes when something happened on the ice. I'm like, oh, God. And
you're right behind the bench, eh, Knuckles? That was all right.
Yeah, I was right behind the bench there, and just watching closely, and kind of, he's looking at the iPad after a goal, and I could tell the coach he'd look, and he knew something was up, and I knew he was going to go to Arber at one point after that third goal when him and goalie collided. And Arber should have stayed in the middle there and held. He should have just held, stayed in the middle, take the pass away, let the goalie take the shot. And he sees goalie in trouble. He goes to try and help, and then they both end up on their ass, and guys wide open in front. So those mistakes, after a while, you got to eliminate those. There's going to be mistakes, I get it, but those big mistakes like that was a big mistake on his part. That patience that a seasoned veteran like a Rick Green would have made in that situation. No, I'm serious. I'm not, but, that comes with time. It comes with maturity. And same with this whole team. They're starting to mature. We talked about it. Slafkovsky, right? You look at Nick and Cole, where they're at. Guys are starting to mature. And that takes time for a team to really come together. And we've seen a lot of positive signs with this group. I'm liking where they're heading.
Yep, the first mistake he made, Rick, was firing it up the middle, trying to clearing pass on his offside. How did you find it difficult when you were playing to play on the offside, or did it bother you much?
I didn't mind it. I know that there's a much more work involved because you're on your backhand, but I didn't mind it because I found that when it came to playing the body on your offside, there's something about you seem to have better strength from that position, and I didn't mind it. I think it's good for the guys to experience it, and one thing that you cannot do, no matter what side you're on, is have the hope pass that you put things up the middle, which obviously came back to bite them. But again, learning and experiencing and just getting time to play in all situations will benefit him moving forward.
An example of how the glass is your friend, right, Rick? As a defenseman, fire it off the glass and get it out.
Sometimes it's exactly that. Lappy used to say, use the glass, use a glass. And I'd say, Lappy, the guy's wide open. How about I use a stick-to-stick pass? And he'd say, no, just use the glass. I said, okay, Lappy, thank you.
It's interesting. I was asking about Arber playing on the offside, and he said he prefers to hit with his right shoulder, which he gets a chance to do on that side. Knuckles, another defenseman, Lane Hutson. No sophomore jinx with this kid. He just seems to keep getting better and better. Where have you seen his game maybe improve the most this season?
Yeah, listen, I think he's picked up on some things defensively. Like, he's so smart defensively. He can take the puck away from players because he's not going to overpower them. He'll get in their way, and he'll get in there. He'll come out with the puck sometimes, and he has a really innate ability to, when he comes off the rush, he makes a rush, and he comes off that rush to get back up the ice before he gets caught. Like, a lot of times, yeah, there's gonna be times he's gonna pay for some of those offensive things. But boy, this kid, there's no let up in him. I was the other night, I saw our good friend Sir Savad up in the box. He had texted me. He said, "You at the game? Come up and see me." So I come up, and when the king calls, you gotta go. And I went up, and we were talking. He said, "What's going on with that USA? Why is this Hutson not there?" I'm like, "Yeah, why is he not there? It's crazy." Like, that kid and let's talk about the big rink. Like, I don't get it. The whole thing in the Four Nations with the physicality and the fights, you're not going to see that in the Olympics. Stop. You're going to be in a big rink. You're not going to be playing at, the Boston Garden and the Bell Center. You're in a big rink, and this kid would flourish in there. And big surge. You couldn't believe they didn't take him, But yeah, he just smart, hockey sense, and he can skate like it's crazy. His ability to skate and be shifty and elusive, it's awesome. He's an awesome player. He's going to be good for years to come here.
He's a little different style of defenseman than you were, Rick. What have you liked most about him?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
One thing that I love is how effective he uses his stick. I mean, his ability to check guys with the stick on the ice. He's one of the best guys there on the defensive group to always have the stick in the good place and tenacious when it comes to one-on-one. He he won't go away. I mean, he gets pushed around. He's coming back at you, and he just keeps going and going until he either takes a tie or wins. And those are the type of things you love to see with a kid. And another area that I have to highlight, that anytime that he plays a 2-on-1, he doesn't go for the front crawl, laying on the ice, hoping that he's going to block that pass. He's on his feet, trying to take the pass away, and he's able to respond to any loose pucks or rebounds because he's on his feet. So he's got all the tools and just a great player to watch. And I would have loved to coach him.
Not because you wanted to add something there.
You say that 2-on-1, right? And here's a kid that's thinking 2 steps ahead. He's going to break it up and then go on the offensive. And you know, he wants to steal the puck and catch those 2 guys going that way. That's how good he is. That's how he thinks. I'm going to break up this 2-on-1. I'm gone. I ain't going to be laying on the ice. My feet are going to be moving. I'm out of there. Move the puck up, and I'm in the play. So, man, yeah, he's a treat to watch. One of those kids you love to go to the game, and go to the game, you want to see him play.
Yeah, and if you go to an outdoor rink in Montreal, you might see him there also on a day off. Sort of funny that the Canadiens had an optional practice on Sunday, and management told Lane Hutson, you cannot go on the ice. They forced them to take a day off, which is probably a good thing with the way the schedule's been going. Anyway,
no, that never happened to me.
That's it for this week's Hockey Inside Out show. The Canes are back in action Thursday night in Buffalo, and then they wrap up their 3-game road trip Saturday night in Ottawa against the Senators. We'll have 3 Hockey Inside Out show bonus episodes coming up over the next few days, so look for those. And Hockey Inside Out is also available now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, so you can find us there. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out YouTube channel.